Hey folks, I'm really excited about today's video because I think it's something that's really interesting and potentially pretty useful. I don't think a lot of people realize that you can get a replacement set of brushes for your Honda Alternator for about $10. And replacing the brush assembly is actually a really simple process and can extend the life of your original OEM alternator. The tricky part though is getting access to the alternator. On these 10th gen Accords, the alternator is buried down in the back and it's difficult to get it out. So I'm going to show you a method in this video that I think is a lot easier, especially for do-it-yourselfers, than the method recommended in the Honda service manual. So let me show you why it's hard to get the alternator out here. The alternator's back in the back of the engine here, and here you can see down here, this is where the belt goes over the alternator pulley, and then this is the alternator itself. Honda recommends that you take out the alternator from the back of the engine, from the bottom. And to do so, if you look in here, you can see the exhaust pipe. So they recommend pulling out the entire exhaust pipe to get access to it and get room to pull it out. So if you live in a salty, rusty area like I do, you know that taking apart the exhaust is a pain. Plus, if you don't have a lift, it's a pain to work from the bottom. So I thought for sure there'd be enough room to get it up through the back left of the engine here, and I took off a lot of stuff, the shield on the gas line and a bunch of other components, this wire harness, but I couldn't fit it out this way. So today we're going to try a different approach, which is to remove the battery and see if we can take it out from the right side of the engine once we get it loose. Alright, so the plan is to take out the battery tray. I think we're going to have to take out the airbox to do that. So I think we'll have enough room after that to get the alternator through out through this side of the engine. I'll take the battery out of there. There's a little clip here for the load sensor. We can get that out of the way. A little plastic nut that just holds the wire harness on there. And then the strap that holds the battery in place here. And these little these bolts just unhooked from the side. You take the little insulation boot out and pop the battery out of the way. There's a little tray on the bottom here that comes out. Okay, then down the bottom, let me make sure you can see. So down on the bottom there's a bolt here and then a bolt over here to remove the battery tray. Come on. Alright, and then there's a bracket that holds the PCM here, the computer, and I think if we just remove that bolt we can slide the battery tray out from underneath it. Looks like that might be a 10mm, yeah. Okay, and then there's an electrical connector here that goes to a bracket that goes to the battery tray. There's a little tab in the back that you can pull down on and then slide the electrical connector back, and then that comes free of the tray. Oh, there's another bolt up here for the battery tray. A 12
millimeter variety. Okay, and then there's some electrical connectors in the back that go to the battery tray, and so this one just has a little tab that you can lift up on and then pull that off. And this one just has the ears. Okay, so I think that's all free in the back there. Now there's one bolt that's underneath this air box, so we're gonna have to take that off. This electrical connector also mounts to the battery tray. It's just got two little tabs here in the back that you can lift up, and then that all slides off. So let me move you over and we'll take off the air box next. Okay, so we can take off the connector for the mass airflow sensor. And then this has a couple tabs on the bottom for the electrical connector. And then I'm going to have to go grab a 5.5 millimeter socket there. I always thought that was funny that it's 5.5 millimeter, kind of an odd size it seems like. Okay, and then this should just come off there. Oh, getting a little bit dirty. Okay, now this little air intake comes off just with those little clips. There's 4 little clips here. Once those clips are removed, this whole unit I think just pulls off. Yeah. Alright, so that just pops out of there. Okay, and then next to get this air box out of there, so there's one bolt there and one bolt here, and then there's just a rubber fastener in the back that holds it down. And it just pulls out of that, I think. Okay, now that the front's free, it just pulls out of that back connector. I'll show you it after I get it out. Yeah, so the back connector is just this rubber fastener that goes on that post there. So you can see that. Okay, whoops. Let's see. So that's the back fastener that just pushes down on that post there. Okay, so with that removed, we can get to this final bolt down here. There's another electrical connector that goes to the battery tray we'll have to remove. Looks like that just, yeah, pulls off. And then that's the final bolt down there. And I think once we get that out, the whole battery tray should be free to pull up out of there. Try not to drop this one down in the bottom there. Nice. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so now the whole battery tray is free, so we can just pull that out. Over there. And here you can see the post in the back right there that the airbox mounts to. Okay, and then just in the back there's one more bracket here. Let me slide you over a little bit. So hopefully you can see in the back here there's one more little bracket that's just used to mount the wire harness on there. And I think with that gone, these I think coolant pipes that go to the heater core can pull up. And I think then we'll be able to sneak the alternator right up through here. That's the plan anyway. Alright, so that's that little bracket that just sits down in the back there for the wire harness. Okay, now we'll go back over to the other side and get the alternator free and see if we can pull it up out of there. So this is all the stuff we had to pull out of the battery tray, the battery strap, then the intake, air intake, the air box, the air filter, the air box cover, the battery tray, and that bracket. So it's quite a bit of stuff. But I think that this is probably still the easiest way to get your alternator out, because you saw all of that came out pretty easily. So here's the alternator looking down at the back of the engine. There's just two bolts that hold it in. The one is that one there I'm pointing out with the green laser, and then the other one is up here. Since there's not a lot of room here, I find it helps if you take off this sound deadening panel from the bottom of the intake manifold. Got a couple clips on the top here. So it's actually got like little prongs on both sides of it, so it's a little bit of a pain getting them out. But then once you take those two top clips off, whole panel comes off. It actually clips on the fuel rail on the bottom there, but that gives you a little bit more room to work. Okay, so the next part's kind of the worst, which is you have to take off the electrical connectors off the back, and probably you won't be able to see anything except the back of my head here. So I'm going to see if I can get you positioned down on the bottom there so you can get a view of what I'm doing. Okay guys, I've got you precariously stuck down behind the engine. I've got the camera stuffed down there, so I probably sound a little echoey, and I'm reaching in from the top, so you can actually probably see better what I'm doing than I can. But hopefully this gives you an idea. So I'm working all by feel here. So this feels like the boot. Pop that off. And then if I can get on there, I can remove the bolt holding the lug. Oops, I think I got the wrong size here. Let me try that again. Alright, so hopefully I can get on that bolt there and remove the primary lug. Feels like it should be right about there. Oh, there we go. Okay. There it is. I think you can see what I'm doing there. Like I said, I'm just doing it all by feel. So, all right, so there's the battery lug. So there's an electrical connector here somewhere. Oh, there it is. I feel it, and it's got a tab in the back that I think I just pull, and then that pops off. Okay, so that connector just pulls off. And now the tricky part is, hopefully you can see, but there's a Christmas, or not quite a Christmas tree, but a push fastener there. And I can't really get in there to see it to unclip it. So what I'm going to do is just remove this whole back cover so I can get better access to that. So let me see if those are... So there's 3 nuts on the back. So if I remove those, I can remove the back cover to the alternator. And then I can remove that remaining electrical fastener. Alright, so here's one of them. Let's see if I can loosen them all up. I'll find them by feel. Alright, here's another one. Oh, got it. Okay, so that one's loosened up. There's one more. I guess that's hopefully the one that's not loosened. There we go. Let me see if I can spin those out the rest of the way by hand. Now, the only trick is not to drop these, or I'll probably never find them again. Alright, there's one. Oh, this was a little bit easier to get to in the front. Okay, almost got that one. Got that one. And then there's one more up here. A little bit tighter because it's right by the battery lug there. Spinning for me though. Come on, come on. I just have to be really careful to not drop it. I think I'm going to just try to reach in there with a magnet too. In case I can't really grab it, then I can maybe grab it with a magnet there. Oh, it feels pretty loose. Come on, here we go. Okay, I think I got it. Nice. Okay, now the whole rear cover of the alternator should be able to just pop off. Okay, so now I think I can get in here and gain access to that Christmas tree, or I keep calling Christmas tree fastener, but it's really just a push connector. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just hop up here and give the top of the engine a bear hug and reach in with both hands and see if I can undo that last fastener. Need a little bit more light here. So, okay, at least I can see it. See if I can remove it. Alright, so there we go. So the back of the alternator is off. We've got all the wires disconnected. Now you could just take it out like that if you wanted to. I'm going to put the cover back on because I don't want to damage anything in there when I'm taking it off. So I'm just going to put this cover back on. Where'd that lug go? There it is. Okay, I think that's back in. Oh, there we go. That's back in place. And I'll just put those nuts back on. Again, like you could just be careful and take it out like that, but I'll just spin these back on just to protect it as I'm yanking it out. All right, now. Oh, okay. Where'd it go? There it is. And there's one more somewhere here. Oh, is it that one? No, I got that one already. Oh, this one here. Alright, so hopefully you could see something there. It'll be interesting to see what you could see. I'll move you up to the top now. So once you get the all the connections off the back, that's the hard part. Then it's just a matter of removing these two bolts in the front. Come on, baby. That one. And then there's the one down on the bottom here. A little bit tougher to get to. Might be easier to get to from the bottom, but if I can get to it here. Oh, looks like it's loose. I reach down there with the camera there. Definitely a little bit of a tight spot to get to. Alright, just make sure both of those bolts look the same. And they do. So now the alternator's free, but it's pretty tight, so we're going to have to pry it out of there just to get a little more room. I'm just going to get rid of this bracket. So this has two bolts in it. One in the front there where you can hopefully see them pulling out. And then there's one in the back of it too. Alright, so that little bracket comes out of there. So I thought this connector was pretty tricky to remove out of there. I thought the easiest way was to pull back this little rubber boot, and then you can feel that there's a tab on the bottom. And you have to press it surprisingly far back, and then with a little bit of effort you can get it to pop free. So I stuffed a bag of Harbor Freight rags down there just to catch it because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to grab it as I pry it out of there. These alternators have those slide-in bolts in the back, so they can be pretty stuck in place. So I'm just going to pry it. So the top is free and the bottom is still caught up in there a little bit. These ratchet and pry bars are pretty handy for getting in tight places like this. Usually. See if I can just work it free the rest of the way. Okay. So I've wrestled that out of there. Now I've just got to wrestle it over to the other side, so I'll move the camera over so you can see that process. Alright, so now I'm just going to slide the alternator across on the bottom. I've got some bags set up on the other side too, so I just, you know, don't set it on anything that'll be bothered. So I'm just going to slide it across. And hopefully it fits out this side. So there's the transmission cable. I'm just pushing that down and then pulling these pipes up a little bit. Just trying to be gentle so I don't bother anything. Okay, and pulls right out through. And there's our prize. So here's the alternator out of the vehicle, of course, so you can see a little bit of what was going on in the back where it's a little bit hard to film. This is the electrical connector, and then this is the bolt that has the primary output going to it with a big lug. And then these are the 3 other bolts I took off to remove the back cover to get this push fastener out of there, because it's really tricky to release that push fastener when it's back there. So now we'll just go in and remove the back cover here. And the whole back cover pries right off. And then this is the brush assembly here. So here's the brush assembly we are going to be replacing. It's held on just by 2 screws, but one word of caution, they look like Phillips heads, but they're actually JIS screws, Japanese industrial standard. So if you don't know about that, you might want to search on that. If you use a regular Phillips head screwdriver, you might strip them out if they're in there tight. So I'll be using a JIS screwdriver to remove these. So in the past when I've done this, sometimes these are pretty tight. Oh, these aren't bad at all. And once those 2 screws are out, you can just pull out the brush assembly. And in there, hopefully you can see the brushes. And then the 2 slip rings that they ride on in there. Then I've got a brand new brush assembly from Honda here. So the new brush assembly comes with this little pin inserted in the back, and that holds the brushes in a retracted position. So we're going to place this on there and then pull out the pin, which will release the brushes. So obviously you can see this is a really simple process once you get the alternator out. The actual brush replacement just takes a couple of seconds. Okay, so once the brushes are tightened in there, you can just pull out that pin and that releases the brushes. And now we can just reassemble it and put the cap back on. Now we'll just tighten these down. So you can see the hard part is getting the alternator out, but once you've got it out, it's a pretty easy process. So here's a shot looking at the new brushes versus the old ones. The new ones are specified to have a length of 10.5 millimeters above the bottom here, and you can see the old ones off my Honda are quite a bit shorter. So let's see if we can get a little bit of a measurement here. So it looks to me like the old ones are about maybe 5.5 millimeters or so. So about halfway through their life. And I've got about, I think 124,000 miles on it. So probably they would have made it well over 200,000 or so. Okay, so now we just have to slide it back in there. And again, I've got, bags of rags down there to just set it on so I don't bother anything down there. I'll just go around to the other side and get it in place. So hopefully I'll be in a spot where I can work and you can see. Let's see if we'll pull this back over here so we can get it lined up where it goes. It seemed like it hinged pretty well on the bottom, so if I can get the bottom bolt in, I'm thinking I can use it as a hinge and then get the top up into place. So I'm just going to keep wiggling it down until I think I can get that bottom bolt lined up okay. I think it's close. Okay, so I think I have the bottom one in. So now I think I'll just be able to hinge it up and get the top one in. And that should be lined up. Okay, I think that's almost there. Alright, so there's the top bolt in. So I think both of the bolts are in now. Sorry, I think all you can see is my arm probably. Okay, let me go grab the torque spec for those two bolts. Okay, so those are both 24 Newton meters for both of those bolts. Oops. Okay, 24 there. Okay, and 24 there. Just double check. Don't want the alternator falling off. Now don't forget, if you Did put a bag of rags down there. Don't forget to pull those out because sitting down by the exhaust pipe, they'll probably catch on fire on you. So now we can start putting everything back together. I'm just going to hook up the electrical connectors on the back side. But I probably won't show you that. You know how that goes. So now we just have to remember everything we took off. So we've got this connector that goes back on there. And then there's a little clip here we took off. Okay, and then we have to get this little bracket back in here. See if we can feel down there and line it up where it goes. So I'll put the front bolt in loosely and then find the hole for the back one before tightening it down. I think I got it. Okay, and then we'll just tighten those two down. And then the bolt in the back there. Sorry, I think all you can see is my arm. Sorry about that.
Okay, so next we have to put the sound panel back in. It's got these clips I showed you before that clip onto the fuel rail. It's actually got these tabs so you can clip it on underneath. For me, it's easiest if I clip it on the fuel rail first. That's the hard part, and then clip those other tabs in after.
You bend it back, you can kind of feel where the fuel rail is and get those bottom clips in place. There we go. In this job there's a lot of pieces of it that are just by feel for sure. Okay, I think we're good up here. So now we just have to remember how everything goes back together and we should be in good shape. I think this bracket went on there. There's a little orientation hole there. So not too bad a job overall, huh? Alright, and then this fat electrical harness holder gets connected there. And I think next the battery tray goes back in. So it goes under there. Alright, that looks pretty lined up to me. So while I'm at it, hopefully you can see down here, I'm going to just put that electrical connector back on there while I'm remembering, and then this electrical connector goes back on the battery box, and don't forget this one here. Just slides into place once we get it lined up correctly. Alright, there we go. Okay, and then there's a little clip on that one too. One there, one here. And then there was the hard to get to one down here somewhere. Get that one started. And then there's this final one up here. Pretty fast, huh? That wasn't even sped up video. Alright, and then this one here. Get this last one here with the extension. Oops, left my socket there. Okay. Just do a double check and make sure we have everything fastened down that used to be fastened down. Okay, I think we're in good shape for the airbox next. I'm just going to squirt a little bit of silicone spray on that rubber there. And on this one as well, just put a little dab. I think it'll just make it easier to go back on. And then that, if we're lucky, we'll just, push this back into place. And then, let me see if you can see, I think I gotta move you over a little bit. So now we've just got these two bolts in the front. Okay, so the air filter goes back in there, and then we've got the top of the air box. And this, the mass airflow sensor clips back in there, and don't forget to hook that baby back up. And then this intake cover just goes on there. And there are just the 4 little panel clips holding it in place. Panel clips seem to hold up pretty well inside the engine compartment, just down below where they never seem to be reusable. Okay, then we'll put the battery into place here. And then don't forget the little insulation piece. Then we can put the battery clamp back in place. Snug that down just a bit. Okay, don't forget this little holder here, I guess. Okay, and then we can just hook the battery back up. And then finally the negative terminal. Where'd that go? Oh, here it is over here. And then don't forget this little clip. And I did notice I forgot one thing, which is just to push these heater hoses back down in the little holder there. I think we're in good shape. Oh man, you guys forgot to remind me. Project's done and I got one bolt left over. So this is the bolt that mounts the PCM bracket down to the battery tray, and I forgot all about that. So show you the trick that I learned, I think probably from Eric O at South Main Auto. If you don't watch his YouTube channel, you really should, because he's the best mechanic around. But if you stick a little piece of paper towel or something, then it can hold it just long enough to get that bolt in where you need it to go. So I think we'll be able to get it in without taking everything back apart. Feels like it's going in nicely. Okay, so now I think we're really done and no parts left over. What the heck, I'll even pull out that little piece of paper towel for you. Just for completeness, I didn't show also just tightening down this air duct. I think that's the last thing I missed showing you guys. Okay, so the moment of truth here, let's start it up and make sure it still runs okay. So this is a typical theme. Whenever I take the battery out, I get this, the system's initialize and continue driving, and I get the TPMS sensor and the traction control light. So let me just go out and take a little spin, make sure that all gets better. Alright, so just take a little spin out here. I think usually the lights all go off pretty quickly. Yep, so just barely out of the driveway. Just loop around here. Just barely out of the driveway and all the warnings are off. Just do one additional check here, just make sure there's no codes. So it looks good. All the monitors are blinking because the battery was disconnected, of course.
Then if I go into live data, then you can see that the alternator looks like it's charging fine. The ECU voltage is 14.5 volts or so. So I hope you found that interesting and potentially useful. It's not too bad to do, but it's definitely not a good first time repair. If you've never done this kind of repair before, you could get yourself in a little trouble on this one. So, but then again, it's not too bad either. So hope you found this interesting, and thanks for watching.